Welcome back to Coding Along. It's Sam, and you are watching JavaScript for Beginners. Today's topic is all about variables, the rules, the structures, and yeah, let's get to it. Before we start, let's look at this FAQ web page that I just created. You can see it here. You click it, and this is all made with JavaScript, of course, HTML and CSS too. And you can see here, this is hovering and all that. So yeah, this is one of the nice things you can do with JavaScript, and I will be releasing a tutorial on how I did this. Yeah, keep your heads up for that, and let's go to the main course. Yeah, so about variables, there are some rules and structures, and this is what we're going to talk about today. What is a variable? A variable is used to store data that will be used later in your code. This is used to store it, number one. You can think of it as a container or a box where you store the values of data that can be used, it can be manipulated inside your code, it can be changed, it can be updated inside your code. So the next thing is, how do we use variables in JavaScript? First thing we have to know is that we start a variable, or when we want to initialize a variable, we initialize it with the var keyword. And then we say var tutorial. And then we give it a value. It stores this value 10 because this tutorial is 10 out of 10. So now, when we just say tutorial, it gives us 10. So this is the number one thing. We initialize variables in JavaScript with the var keyword. So the next thing is that when you're creating a variable, you do not have to give it a value. We can just say var lesson, and we give it nothing. And now you see it's undefined. But later, we can say lesson is equals to great. And now, whenever we call the lesson, you see we see great there. You see we see great there. So that's another thing is that we do not have to. We can say lesson is equals to best. What happened there? Why is it giving me an error now? Because I changed it to great before it worked, but now I said lesson equals to best and it doesn't work. Okay, let me try something else. Let me say lesson is equals to, with this colon here, best. Does it work? Oh, now it works. Why did it work now and it didn't work before? It's because we put this comma here, and this comma here are basically telling JavaScript that this is a string. Now I can change this lesson and say it's equals to 9. Now lesson is 9. Oh, what just happened? Lesson was best here and now it's 9. This is something you can do with JavaScript. You can change the data type. You can change the value of your variable, and you can change the type because this is an integer here and this is a string. And now lesson was a string, and then we changed lesson to a number, an integer, and now lesson is a number. If we say lesson, it doesn't give us best anymore. It gives us 9. So this is what you can also do with JavaScript. It's not good to do this. I am showing you this because it's good to know that you can do this with JavaScript, but best practice is when you're programming, do not change your data type. It's better to keep the same data type, even if you're update it with the same data type. That's a very good practice and will save you a lot of errors in further coding. So what else do we need to know about JavaScript? Okay, what if I wanted to give my JavaScript name var4? I say var4 equals to loop. Wow, I get another error. What's happening here? Well, var4 equals to loop is not working because for is a reserved keyword in JavaScript. And what are reserved words? These are words that JavaScript uses for other things, for different functionalities inside the programming language. Like for in this case, for is used in JavaScript for looping. So this word here is a reserved word, and that's why we cannot use it. And that's why it gives us an error when we call a variable name using a reserved keyword. So this is something you have to pay attention to. You have to know the keywords like function, for, if, while. All these words cannot be used as variable names because they are already used by the programming language for other functionalities inside the programming language. So what else do we need to know? Is when we're creating variable names, var, let's say coding, you see here that the way we spelled it, you see we have a capital A here. And this capital here, this is a way of creating variable names that makes it easier to look and more presentable. And this is a camel notation, camel case notation, which happens like we say we start with a small letter and then we continue each new word with a capital letter. So in this case, coding along will start with a capital letter. So yeah, that's another one. Or we could also put an underscore and make this a small letter. Or we could mix them up together, use camel notation with underscores. So this is just to make your variable names more readable, and especially if you need to explain it more than just one word, this is good to know. So what else do we have to know about variables is that variables are, you cannot start your variable with a number. You can start your variable with letters. You can start your variable with the dollar sign, this. You can start it with the dollar sign. You can start it with an underscore too, but you cannot start it with a number. An integer, you cannot start your variable names with. So this is good to know. You can end your variable name. You can say lesson 1 is equals to nice. Lesson 1 is equals to nice. Var lesson 1 is equals to nice. When we create lesson 1, we see lesson 1 is nice. So we can see that, yeah, in this place we can do a lot of things with JavaScript variables. And that's about it. Let's get to the summary. The first thing is we initialize variables with the var keyword. The next thing is the names of variables can be letters, numbers, underscore, or the dollar sign, but cannot start with a number. The third thing is try to name your variables with camel case or underscore between words. This is good practice. It makes them more readable and just makes it less messy. The fourth thing is you can change the type of your variable, but the best thing is not to do so. And then we also talked about the reserved words that are already being used by JavaScript cannot be used as variable names. And the last is we do not have to specify the type of the variable when we initialize them. And that's it for variables. I hope you learned from it. If you did so, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below if you have any questions or if you have any things to add to what we discussed right now. Bye.